All right, so how could you possibly compare a regular guy like me to one of the greats like Matt Mercer? Personally, I'd rather you not, but I do think that I and all you other DMs out there can get a lot closer than you think. Now, I was never that smart. I think I graduated high school with like a 2.4 GPA, but I always loved fantasy, The Lord of the Rings, Harry Potter. And when I was introduced to D&D when I was in my early 20s, I didn't have a group of people to teach me. I wasn't like invited to a table by one of my friends who was already into it. I had to figure it out on my own, and it was really intimidating. So I struggled through some D&D books. I bought the 4th edition Dungeon Master's Guide because that's the edition that was out at the time, and I didn't know any better. And I read a bunch of stuff online, and I watched videos online, but it was really tough. And then I discovered a podcast called Critical Role. And I started watching it, and I started seeing what Matt Mercer was doing. And I decided I would do what a lot of people say to do when you're an artist and study the greats. So I watched Matt, I watched as much as I could, and I started picking up on things that he did. And that's really how I originally learned how to be a dungeon master. So here are 5 tricks that I learned from Matt Mercer that made me a better DM. 1. Take yourself serious. Whether you're describing your world, your story, or you're especially role-playing an NPC, don't feel awkward talking in a different voice. Don't feel silly. You know, I know your friends are sitting there watching you, but actors get paid millions of dollars to pretend to be other people every day. And just because they are getting paid and they've got cameras and directors and all that stuff does not make the stories that they're telling any more real or any more legitimate than the stories that you're telling with your friends. We're all artists, we're all creators. So take yourself serious. Even if you're role-playing a silly character, role-play it, jump in, embody that character, don't be timid. If you take yourself serious, your players will too. Tip number 2, put the work in ahead of time. Build out the encounters that you're going to have during the session. Build out the important locations and the important NPCs and have that framework. I saw an interview where Matt said that back in the Vox Machina days, for every hour of game time, he did an hour of prep. And he said that later, when they started Mighty 9, he knew how big it was going to be, so he felt a little more pressure. So he started doing 2 hours of prep for each hour of game time. Well, some of you guys might be, performing online, but for most of us, we're just going to be DMing at home with our friends. So I think an hour of prep per an hour of game time is a good guideline. Like I said, important locations, important NPCs, and important encounters, and you'll be good to go as long as you have that framework. And then a bonus tip to go kind of along with that, leave yourself room to improv. Don't build something don't railroad things to where you have no wiggle room. And when you're already, even if you don't think of yourself as a creative person, as you're running a game and you're kind of in that creative mind space already, a spark's gonna go off, you're gonna think of something fun, funny, create a unique NPC, and your players are gonna love it. And it's gonna end up being one of the most memorable moments you guys have. I can't swear to this, I don't have like behind the scenes information, but I am 99% sure that Victor, the crazy gunpowder salesman that Percy goes to, Matt thought of him on the spot. He didn't know Percy was going to go buy gunpowder in that episode. And so when Percy did that, he just thought of a crazy voice, envisioned this wild-eyed old gunpowder salesman, and he ended up being one of the most iconic characters in all of Critical Role. I think Matt even dressed up as him in one episode. So yes, plan things out, have that structure, but leave yourself room to improv because that's where the real magic of D&D is going to happen. Tip 3, make unique, memorable NPCs. I have seen professional, working, money-making dungeon masters online that every one of their NPCs has almost the same voice, the exact same vocabulary and speech patterns, and the same personality. There's a difference between characterization and character. Your player characters, your recurring NPCs, they need to have true character. You need to know if they would sacrifice themselves to save an orphan and how they're going to react in stressful situations. Your NPCs just need a bit of characterization. Frizzy hair, big glasses, maybe an eye patch, or a missing limb, or they always dress in their soldier uniform. Something that makes them stand out a little bit. You don't have to go that in depth. Yes, it's cool to give them a unique voice if you're capable of that. And that's easily done by just talking slower or talking faster, or changing their vocabulary. But just give them enough uniqueness to where they stand out from the other 100 shopkeepers that you've role-played across the course of your campaign. Tip number 4. Have a certain set of Dungeon Master vocabulary that you kind of use to help your players out. Matt does this flawlessly. Obviously, he has his famous "how do you want to do this?" to tell a player that you slew the big bad evil guy. Tell me the amazing way you did it. And you can use that at home. I don't think you're allowed to use it online, but you should definitely steal that. And he has you can certainly try. What I usually say is, are you sure? Whenever your player's gonna do something that's probably gonna work out horribly and you know that, so you want to give them one last chance to take it back. Are you sure? Matt also will say, you just missed. So basically you're one number away from the AC, or that just hits. So he's kind of hinting at the AC. Or if a bad guy has 10 HP left, he doesn't want to say, oh, he's down to 10 HP. He'll say he's looking rough. So he's giving his players some metagame knowledge, but he's not breaking the immersion. So kind of develop your own DM vocabulary to kind of help your players out a little bit. And the last tip is, and this is probably the one I see get messed up the most often with new DMs, let your player characters be the heroes. There are gonna be high-level NPCs in the world. Sean Gilmore is a great example. He's like a 20th level wizard probably, but most of the campaign he's busy running his shop, or at least the first half. And then during all the whole Chroma Conclave stuff, he's busy enacting that ritual that's protecting Whiterun. So while, yeah, he's a powerful NPC that would probably be helpful to have along, he's too busy doing other important stuff. So don't let a 20th level NPC sweep in and save the day while your characters are struggling. Let them be the heroes. Your job as the DM is to make your players feel like heroes. And if an NPC saves the day, they're not going to feel that way. So a great example is the Philosopher's Stone. Dumbledore's a 20th level wizard. A letter calls him away right at the moment of the climax of the first Harry Potter book. Now you're Quirrell sent that letter or whatever. Yeah, Quirrell did in the story, but J.K. Rowling wrote the book. And her reason was she needed to remove a 20th level NPC so that the player characters, Harry, Ron, and Hermione, could be the heroes. So, learn from the greats. Watch Matt, watch Chris Perkins, watch Brendan Lee Mulligan. If I can do it, anybody can do it. Go out there, learn from watching, become a better DM, give your players a great game to play in. You can do it. I believe in you.